Hello YouTube, and welcome to another edition of Building the Dome-Shaped Underground House. Today's video is going to be about insulation. I know it's going to be a very exciting video. Actually, probably not, but if you're curious about how to insulate your house or whatever, some of the information here might be good for you. So anyways, the nice thing about these homes is that you don't have to insulate everything like you do in a conventional home. The roof doesn't need to be insulated. There's no attic to be insulated. Really what has to be insulated is anything that separates the living space from the garage, or technically the living space from the outside. So the other side of this wall is obviously the outside. It's the front wall of the house. The whole front wall of the house gets insulated. My cupola will get insulated, and everything that abuts against the garage gets insulated. But these walls, these concrete walls here, do not, because they are buried under. Right here, it's about 30 feet of earth, and that provides a natural insulation in and of itself. So, I went with spray foam. The fiberglass pink stuff is cheaper. In my case, when I shopped around, it was going to be about half the price. I was quoted about 1,800 bucks to do the spray foam. This stuff ended up being a little under $4 grand. So, it was about half the cost to do the pink stuff, but I chose to do the spray foam because I like the spray foam better. The spray foam pretty much fills everything. It fills all the little nooks and crannies. You don't get any spots where there's any drafts. It is a better form of insulation, but it does cost a little bit more. We had a choice between open cell or closed cell. We went with open cell because open cell was considerably cheaper than closed cell. Closed cell is a little bit better in that if closed cell gets wet, it doesn't deteriorate. This stuff gets wet, it's not good for it. It'll squash down, it'll absorb water, and it'll be a real pain in the ass to clean up. So the closed cell is better in that regard, but we don't plan on having any water getting in here. We're sealing up the outside of the house and sealing up the top, so that shouldn't be a problem. And the cost difference wasn't worth it to me. You definitely want to shop around on insulation because I got prices that were all over the place. The spray foam, once I decided on that, I had prices between a little under $4 grand to as high as 10, and a bunch at like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So definitely shopping around. The guys I used were a good reputable company. They had great reviews, which is another thing I'd really urge you on when you're looking for contractors is do a little bit of background check. Look up reviews, search their name. In California, we have the State Contractors License Board. You can look up and see if there's any complaints, that their license valid, etc. That's important to do because in the past I've accidentally hired some guys that had really bad records, and I didn't find out until after I had to deal with the problems they created. So now I always search everybody before I use them. But so this is the insulation. I'm going to take the camera and walk around and kind of show you some different areas. This was done in a day. They did the entire house. They spray foamed it. I am sorry I do not have any video footage of that because the smell was so toxic and there was like a mist in the air, and I didn't want the camera to get covered in insulation dust or whatever the stuff's called. There's little fine flakes of it on the ground too, you can see. Anyways, so we didn't really get any footage of that, but you can see how they do it. They basically spray it in. As you'll notice, this wall is not filled all the way out to the ends of the studs. That's because the front wall of my house only needed about R13 value of insulation, which is about 3.5 inches thick, because a conventional house is 2x4 construction. This front wall is a 2x8. So it's actually over-insulated now, which is fine. But if they had sprayed it all the way out, it would have cost me more, and then they would have had to trim it all off. So they didn't do that. They just sprayed in the required amount, and they actually sprayed more than the required amount. So the house is insulated, and this house is so energy efficient that even if there is a little bit of spot where maybe it's a little thinner than somewhere else, it's not going to be an issue. So let me take the camera and walk around, and I'll kind of show you what we did and sort of talk about it. All right, so here you can see this is the wall that's between the house and the garage. We do spray foam and insulate the garage against the house because the garage is not a particularly well-insulated area, and it's neither heated nor cooled, so you want to separate it from the house. So this whole wall has been blasted, came out nice. So here we are in the garage. There's my stucco contractor. And we insulated the ceiling of the garage because there is a space above. Now we did insulate this part, which is the deck, but that was also so that heat didn't come through the deck into the garage. This section is underneath the master bedroom, so it needed to be insulated as well. And this separates the media room from the main part of the house. Let's go upstairs. Okay, so the cupola, as you can see, the ceiling, it's a little hard to see because of the boards here. I've left these boards in here because when we go to drywall, we're gonna need a platform to drywall the ceiling and the walls and stuff. So these are, basically we're gonna drywall down to where these boards are. We're gonna cut these 3 support boards out, and then I'll spray foam just a little bit of the stuff from the can in the 6 spots where those are, and then they'll finish up the drywall. But we did spray the whole cupola, the roof of the cupola, the walls of the cupola, because that part is exposed to the outside. So that made sense to do. But in all honesty, there's not a lot of insulation that you use in this house, which is really a nice thing because it's an area where you'll save a bunch of money over a conventional home. So if you have any questions about insulation or why we chose to do what we did, feel free to reach out. I'll try to answer them. I hope that helps, and thanks for watching.